live, some of this isn't. So we are about to go live. Actually, keep this to this one.
Right.
Oh, oops. Hold on, we're having a little bit of technical issues. The bottom left hand side. Okay. Hi, this is Katie, and I am blessed and grateful to be in recovery.
I'm Felice, and I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. Good morning, everybody, and happy Sunday, everybody.
Hi, today is Sunday, the 25th of June, and welcome to our weekly community support meeting where there is a solution for emotional eating, compulsive overeating, and food addiction, and we discuss the solutions and discuss tools and techniques that we can use to help us in dealing with our disease and our situation. We are a community of men and women who are really sick and tired of being sick and tired, and we have chosen instead to live happy and healthy lives. We share our experience, strength, and hope with each other so that we can overcome our common challenges. Being in community gives us strength also to be able to face and deal and work through the different challenges that present themselves in life on a day-to-day basis.
And I'm going to add that too, that being in community allows us to admit that we have that challenge, and I think that that's most importantly to admit, which is what we're going to be talking about today, to admit that we actually have a challenge and we're actually addicts. Okay.
So our meetings are free to everybody. There are a couple of rules, and one rule is this is a no judgment zone. So everyone's free to discuss whatever they want to without judgment from anyone else. Most of us have done and been in the same place. It is also, here we share about our thoughts and feelings about food recovery and addiction. And we also are accountable, but talking and voicing holds ourselves accountable for where we are and gives us strength and hope as well. And we're working towards balancing mind, body, and spirit, because within true recovery, there is a certain spiritual change that happens inside all of us, and that's a long lasting.
Right, and without that change, without some kind of change from the inside, it don't matter how we look on the outside. Changing how we look on the outside has nothing to do with recovery. It's just an end result of us being in recovery.
So for many of us, it is our thinking that has got us into the position that we are. So without a spiritual shift, using the same thinking that put us here, nothing's ever going to change.
Correct.
So I am an emotional eater, compulsive overeater. I am a food addict. I wear that badge proudly. Something I work on every single day. There are lots of challenges dealing with this disease because it speaks to us in so many different ways, psychologically, physiologically, just on so many different levels. It is cunning. It shifts and changes. I have trigger foods. I have certain things that when I put them in my body create a certain obsession in my mind, a twist in my mind, and that's all that I start thinking about. But before we go into this, I think let's just first check in, see how everyone is.
Whoever wants to check in, good morning. Good morning. How are you this morning?
Great.
Okay.
Doing fabulously, thank you.
Okay.
Doing well.
Good. Hi guys. Have a
Hi.
seat. Good morning.
So we're just doing a quick check-in, and on this side, how are you guys doing?
Good morning. I'm doing good.
Fair to Midland.
Okay.
Hi.
Hi. You okay this morning?
Yeah, thank you.
We just do a quick check-in, okay? Hi,
So-
sweetheart.
Hi.
How are you?
Fantastic.
So I forgot to mention, we do record these sessions. No one can see you. They can only see what's happening on this couch, on this sofa. This sofa right here. So just feel free to say whatever's on your mind when it comes up. We're a little bit different. We cross-talk here.
We always crosstalk here. That's what this meeting is about, actually.
So we were discussing what is addiction.
Yeah, so very interestingly, so one of our very dear friends in the group came in this morning and we were talking about different foods, right? Different trigger foods and what's the difference between overeating and addiction. And so I'm going to give my definition of what addiction is. And so my definition, not necessarily Webster's definition of addiction, is when I am having some kind of craving and some kind of compulsion and something that's in my head all day long, that I'm thinking about, can I eat this, can I not eat this, what happens if I eat this, this really isn't a trigger food, so maybe I could do some of this, and then if I do this, and then I'm gonna start again on Monday, and I got a problem. Overeaters sit down at the table, they eat whatever, they gain weight, they go to their doctor says, well, your cholesterol's up and your blood sugar's up, and they say, uh-oh, what do I do, doctor? And their doctor says, do a food log, we'll go over it, da-da-da, we're gonna change this and that, and they say, okay. And not only can they do it, but they don't have to think about it, obsess about it. Can I do this? Can I chew this and spit it out? If I hide this food, will anybody know if I ate it? If I only have 3 bites of this, and it's okay if I do it on the weekend, and I'm gonna start again on Monday, you're an addict. So no matter how pretty we try to package that, addiction is something that makes our life unmanageable. And that part of that unmanageability is all of that caca that we have in our head all of the time that allows us to wake up in the morning and think about what we're gonna eat that day and worry about whether we can have a little bit of this. And for most of us, because you said that you don't feel guilty, for most of us, we wake up in the morning, we promise ourselves that we're gonna get through the day the way that we decided we were supposed to or what was best for us, and we can't do it. And we go to bed guilty, and we wake up ashamed, and we do the same thing over and over again. And when we do it, by the way, we usually make some type of excuse for it. Yes, ma'am.
So I was also going to say, not only do you feel those things, you also are exhausted by the end of the day from having all these conversations and all these justifications and all these excuses and showing up in another way that doesn't necessarily sit well with us inside. So when we're lying to other people and we're lying to ourselves and we're hiding those wrappers and we're throwing them away and we're lying to the person in public of why are we buying this stuff, or we're having these conversations to the drive-through person of, do you know what, I'm picking this up for my kid who I'm picking up from school, and it's not true. All these lies that we tell to others and ourselves just really sit badly within our spirit.
Yeah, they resonate really poorly inside of us, and we're constantly walking around in fear. I mean, imagine how crazy it is to go through a drive-through and lie to the person in the drive-through, right? It's like going to the liquor store and buying liquor and then going to another liquor store later so the person in the liquor store doesn't know that you bought 2 bottles of liquor. It's really, people who aren't addicts don't need to think like that. It doesn't cross their mind. And so when we are in the midst of our addiction, also we're walking around in fear. We're afraid. And that fear shows up as anger or resentment or sometimes sadness or low self-esteem, you know, always feeling like we're not good enough. And we feel that we're incapable of making this change. And that really, if anybody knew right now how bad it felt to be me, they would understand why I do the things that I do. If I could just explain to them, and if everybody else would just change a little bit and leave me alone, then really I wouldn't have any problem. And so the whole thing about the addiction, first of all, is deciding that the problem is with us, because once we decide that that problem is inside of me, then I have that choice to fix it or not.
Our addiction was also a little cunning, because being a food addict, I've noticed over time, my triggers change and things change. So I have certain things. Mine are starches and sugars, and beyond the starches and sugars, I have to be very careful of the artificial sweeteners. I have to be very careful of switching and changing recipes. When things look like something, my brain reads it as something else. So if I start eating too much fruit, then I also know that starts with the sugar, because fruit is still sugar, and even artificial sweeteners in my mouth taste sweet, which kind of trigger the sweetness. I went through stages of trying to outsmart myself, essentially. And part of that outsmarting myself was trying to swap out recipes. So if I love cake, I could swap out the almond flour and I could swap this out, but at the end of the day, it still looked the same way. My brain was still reading it in the same way. So I have to have some absolutes, and those absolutes for me, and it's not that I'm punishing myself, that I'm sitting on a diet and I have to punish myself and I cannot have this stuff ever. I make certain choices on a daily basis of what is going to start driving me crazy, because if I put that in my mouth for the next 3, 4, 5 days, week, month, whatever, it sits inside my brain. So it may last for 3 seconds in my mouth, but the lasting effect carries on for such a long period of time that it makes it almost impossible for me to live with it, and I start getting back into those cycles of those justifications and conversations.
Yeah, and so let's talk about why we have to. Why would we have to? If cheesecake isn't good for me and I'm not an addict, I don't friggin' eat cheesecake. So we're gonna get back to the shrimp story. So I'm allergic to shrimp, and every time I eat shrimp, somebody has to call 911 because I'm gonna go into anaphylaxis and I'm gonna die. I don't eat shrimp. If I'm allergic to shrimp, I don't eat shrimp. I don't need to try prawns, which look like shrimp, but maybe I'm not gonna have the same reaction. I don't need to do that because I know that shrimp is gonna kill me. So I don't need to, as an alcoholic, I'm an everything addict. So as an alcoholic, I don't drink near beer. I don't drink when people are doing toasts in wine glasses and people are pouring their whatever, their water or their diet soda in a, I don't do that because that's a trigger for me. I don't have to make believe that I'm drinking some alcohol so that I could feel like I'm a part of whatever. Right? And you don't have to trick yourself into thinking, well, yeah, I'm gonna make this cake and it's gonna look just like cake, but I made it a little bit different. It's not good for your head.
Not only is it not good for our head, but it also leads into certain behaviors. And those behaviors are because I justified using for so long in so many ways. It's your birthday and you'll feel bad if I don't eat your slice of cake because it's your birthday. So I created all these stories in my head.
Which we call lies, by the way. We call them lies.
Right, and people also started reacting to me in certain ways. Come on, it's just one bite, and it opens up a whole door of discussion and that whole thing of, well, maybe I should, it's just one bite, and how they went to so much effort, it's my favorite cake, they spent 3 days making it, and then it's a grandmother's recipe, and it becomes the whole stories in our head, instead of just turning around going, happy birthday, I'm so happy and excited for you, I really wish you the absolute best. I'm here sitting, celebrating with you in joy, and it gives me great enjoyment watching you be happy. Shuts it down. People stop arguing after a certain period of time, and people start seeing that when your health and my health becomes the paramount focus, it becomes so much easier to say no, because no is a full sentence. It doesn't mean I've got to go no because, or no but, or no so, or any. No is a full sentence. When I say no, I stand behind it and I mean it because I feel it, and that's the best thing for me at that time.
Okay. Yeah, and I was going to play on that too. So, and we talk about that all the time.
Take the words out of your mouth.
Yeah, you
Am
did.
I eating your
Yeah,
words?
yeah, and actually really important words. So we need to remember that no is a full sentence. It's a full sentence when I say it to you, and it's also a full sentence when I say it to me. And if just say no, by the way, was the answer, then a whole lot of people wouldn't be drugging or drinking or eating chocolate cake. So of course that's not the answer, but it's part of the process. So during the process of us learning and growing spiritually in recovery, that saying no to the stuff that we know makes us sick, that's just part of our process. So again, we're gonna say that when we change something on the outside, it don't make us change on the inside. But while we're changing on the inside, we still need to be abstinent from that thing that physiologically triggers something in our brains that makes us use.
It's an interesting thought as well, because I always thought that being abstinent meant that I was in recovery. So if I stayed off food for a certain period of time, then I'd start having those discussions. If I stayed off my trigger foods for 3 months, then I was being abstinent, but I wasn't. I was just dieting in another form because I was still counting between meals and I was still white knuckling it, and I was still trying to work those games in my head.
And most importantly, you were miserable.
And I was miserable.
Most
and
importantly, the thing about being recovery is that we get to live happy, joyous, and free. We get to live happy lives where we're not freaking scared all the time, where we're not thinking all the time about stuff that we really don't need to be dealing with. It's about finding some sense of peace and serenity inside of ourselves and happiness inside of ourselves, and learning that feelings are okay, right? We always talk about how feelings aren't facts. So if I'm feeling happy or sad or glad or annoyed or disgusted or resentful, I don't need to eat those feelings. I can, believe it or not, you guys, just feel them. I could feel them and not die. I can be sad and not die today because I'm sad. I certainly don't need to look to my pot or my alcohol or my cake or my mashed potatoes or my bread. I don't need to look to that to change how I feel. I need to learn that it's okay to feel. It's okay not to sit in those feelings for too long. It's okay for me to ask for help when I'm having a hard time. and it's okay for me to grow up in recovery.
And also, feelings are natural. Feelings are something I stuck for so many years. I didn't want to deal. I could deal with your feelings, and I could deal with everyone else's feelings.
So
and
that-
so that I didn't have to deal with mine. So I
Exactly.
could justify using, and that became my excuse to be able to use because I didn't want to deal with my feelings. And the most amazing thing is, feelings are what sets us apart from animals. I mean, essentially, at the end of the day, we're compassionate, we get upset, we get emotional, we get these things. And to actually be able to acknowledge that in ourselves, not only makes us feel great after we've been through the process and being able to say, do you know what, I was sad because of this. So we can either acknowledge what the problem is and get the solution. And sometimes there's no solution, and just being upset because it's something that you cannot control happens. But it validates us as people as well. Being able to say, I'm happy, I'm anxious, I'm scared, and whatever those emotions are, validates us as human beings and just in our own world. So the other beauty is, once we start seeing that, it opens up a whole different world, because when we are busy eating and stuffing our feelings, we miss the movie. We miss what's happening. We're so wrapped up inside this little space that we don't see anything else that's going on. Whereas just being in integrity and having that honesty to be able to say, I'm really sad at the moment, and a hug just changed my day. Just a kind word made such a difference. I didn't have to go and pick up those Pringles or whatever it was that were my go-to thing, so that I just didn't have to deal with it or spend the time to focus on it or give myself time to process it.
Yeah, and recovery also teaches us that we can act instead of react to the world around us. It reminds us that I'm in control of my perspective and my actions, and that's it. How I show up, how you react to it, ain't got nothing to do with me. I'm only responsible for the way that I show up. I'm responsible for my own happiness. I believe I'm responsible for service, for doing my best for others, as well as doing my best for myself. So I'd like to go around the room to see if anybody has it. We started this conversation this morning too, because we were having a conversation about what addiction looks like, what really is addiction, right? What's the difference between doing a little bit or actually being an addict? So does anybody else want to share about that?
Can I just say one last
Katie
thing?
wants to share.
I just want to share. I want to share. Recovery doesn't always show up as having fantastically happy days every single day. But not every single day. You know, we've got good parts in tough, challenging days as well. Being
Of
able
course.
to see what the good parts were and focus on that, even though there's this chaos and other stuff going on around us. And some days are just really tough and challenging, you know, but good stuff happens. So-
Exactly. Thank you. So does anybody want to share anything? Yes.
My job is very intense. and
Okay.
I
So is
feel like
mine.
I hate myself on my job, and I keep food around me.
Mhm.
Now, I'm a drug addict, pot and alcohol. I'm
Mhm.
clean 10 days now, by the way, which is
Mhm.
great.
That's awesome.
But now it's food. Now it's, when am I going to eat
Okay.
next? So it's
So the challenge
switching
is?
over. Now working on the food addiction. So, you know, so then last night, I always know I'm going to go home because I get up at 7 o'clock. I'm going to come home and I'm going to eat something. So I ran over to my Chinese guy and I got my sesame noodles. I had everything all lined up. I had the TV on,
Uh-huh.
and I'm sitting there. I could feel myself stuffed.
Okay, so so what you're doing is you're stuffing yourself,
Yeah.
right? And so it doesn't matter what we pick up, you guys. And so we all thought in the past, you know, I'm an opiate addict, which makes me an addict, right? We don't really like to talk about that because she's an addict. She's an addict. She's an alcoholic. That's really, really bad. For me, I eat a little too much. It's BS, man. Whatever you're grabbing to change the way that you're feeling is an addiction. So just because you switch pot to Coke, to cigarettes, to alcohol, to chocolate cake, to noodles, it doesn't matter. It's about dealing with how you're feeling, understanding how you're feeling,
Exactly.
right?
You have a lot of
Learning how to
stuff
have that
coming up.
change. Okay, so you have a lot of stuff coming up. None of that stuff that's coming up is going to kill you.
Right,
And
I'm writing this all down.
and with your job, you could choose to be happy that you're getting a paycheck or miserable because of what you're doing. And
Right.
you'll learn in recovery that that's your choice,
Right.
right? And so if we're miserable at work, you guys, either look for another job or look at what is positive that you could be grateful for with what you're doing. Those are your two choices. Is it easy? Do I make it sound easy? Yeah, I make it sound super easy. Is it easy to say, hey, I'm gonna go look for another job today, so maybe I can't pay my bills for the next 6 months? No, so I'm not telling you to quit your job. But if you're unhappy, look for something else, or look for the happiness in what you're doing.
I'm ready to look for some 28 years. Is,
Okay, fair enough. So that's your solution.
Yeah.
And it takes a lot of courage to deal with addiction. It really does. It takes a lot of strength and it takes a lot of courage. And part of the process for me, one of the hardest parts was the beginning was the toughest part, because not only was I dealing with my addiction and knowing that my life had become so unmanageable for me, but I also started dealing with withdrawals, and I started having all those, because I'd been feeding it and these toxins were in my body, those were also coming out as well. Those are also, besides working on doing the work and having a program and getting into a program that really worked for me, because that gave me the strength and the courage to keep coming back and showing up and getting healthier. But there was also the other element of, yes, stuff happens because we've got this crap in our system and it's got to come out, and it does come out. I don't crave like I used to crave. In fact, I don't have cravings. I have thoughts at the moment. Before, I used to have these cravings that would compel me into action. They had the power over my will.
She allowed them to have the power
Right.
over her world. Yeah.
And those were the choices I made. So part of it is shifting that perspective, and with that perspective change becomes a certain strength that we get, and we shift the power back to us as having choices. And when we've got choices, it's so different than having wants and needs.
Yeah, I think too. I think that in the back of our head, we always know that we have that choice. I just think that I know that until we make some kind of change in here, it doesn't seem like we have that choice. So when we're in active addiction and we're not doing anything to change here, then what we'll do is we'll switch. So I'm gonna let you know, and this is just me, okay? If I'm an opiate addict and I haven't had an opiate for 10 days, but I did a shot of tequila today, I don't consider myself 10 days clean. Just saying.
Right,
That's
you do
me.
That, I ate.
Why?
Well, why? Because as long as I'm taking in any addictive substance, my brain is going to be triggered back to my addiction. So alcoholics can't do opiates. Opiate addicts can't do cocaine. Cocaine addicts can't eat 6 chocolate cakes or a pound of sesame noodles. It's the addiction doesn't have anything to do with the stuff that we're doing. It has to do with the way that we feel and the way that we view the world, right? It doesn't have to. So why? It doesn't matter why. At this point, I'm an addict. It don't matter why. That's
You'll always be an addict.
physiologically, I will always be an addict, and I'm comfortable with that. I am blessed and grateful to be in recovery. I've learned a whole lot in recovery that I didn't learn when I was clean. Yes.
When I've been going to some of these NA meetings, you know, you go and everybody's chain smoking. I'm like,
That's not your
that's-
business.
I know, but the thing is, they're replacing all that with
Okay,
the
but that's
nicotine.
not your business.
But I'm just using an example.
Absolutely,
They're
but-
replacing it with nicotine.
Excuse me, and that's you judging them.
Right.
And so what I want you to do is take a look inside of yourself, because there ain't nothing you can do, nor should you care about what they're doing.
Right.
That's their
Just
business.
focus on
That's
what
their
I'm doing.
journey.
I'm
The
doing
more
it.
you point they say you point your finger at
And you're
somebody, you
pointing at
got
yourself.
4.3 pointing back at you or
Right.
whatever, right? So I'm gonna look to you to say, well, look at you. You changed this and you did this. So I don't have to look at myself.
That's
Right? So concern yourself with yourself and your well-being. Somebody else is switching their alcohol for cigarettes. You just said you switched your pot for rice noodles or sesame noodles or whatever. Same. So take a look at yourself
I
and
know.
decide what's good for you and your journey.
That's my challenge.
Not with somebody
That's my
else.
challenge.
That's all of our challenge.
That's right.
That makes you the same as every
Everybody
other
else.
addict.
That's right.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
Okay, so let's switch this over to food, which is, I think, a major
Yes.
problem
Yeah,
here.
absolutely.
So, if I understand correctly what you're saying, if you're a drug addict and you're drinking, you're still using
Correct.
something
Correct.
to satisfy your addiction.
To change.
How do we handle this with food?
Okay, I'm gonna tell you. So at the end of that discussion, I don't want you to say another word. Again, we're gonna go back to the shrimp, and I need everybody to hear this, and I'm very passionate about this, so it sounds like I'm angry, but I'm really not. This is so important. Yes, you have to eat. No, you don't have to eat bread. No, you don't have to eat rice. No, you don't have to eat chocolate cake. You don't have to eat any of those things. You can eat chicken and fish and veggies and salad and egg white omelets and live a happy and healthy life. End of that discussion. If I'm allergic to shrimp, I still have to eat. And if I go to a seafood restaurant, first of all, I don't have to eat it that second because none of us are dying of starvation. That's first of all. Second of all, if I go to a place where that's all they serve is shrimp, then I'm gonna have a glass of water and eat when I get home. And if I go to a place where they serve steak and shrimp, maybe I don't like steak so much, but if I'm that hungry, I'll have the steak and the salad. I don't have to eat the shrimp. Yes, you have to eat. No, you do not have to eat things that are killing you.
Okay.
Okay? Let her go.
No,
okay?
no. I'm digesting what you said.
Digesting,
Okay.
that's good. That's good.
So we deal with two things. One of the components is besides the trigger foods, which is the things that we get us going.
By the
we
way,
have-
can we define trigger food?
Yes,
A
okay.
trigger food is something that triggers the dopamine receptor in our brain, the reward center in our brain, to make us want more and make us want to use more, so that we are not in control at that moment of what they're doing. They compel our brains into some type of obsession and compulsion. So that's a trigger.
Where we
food.
lose control. Like, I can't eat just 30 pistachios, I have to eat the whole bag.
Exactly.
But what if I can control the consumption?
Okay, how pleased can I do this? Okay.
What?
So if you could control the consumption, you wouldn't be sitting here, firstly.
Nor would you be talking about
Right.
it.
So, and secondly, the other thing that we think we can control is if we stay off this, because of the twisted mind, and because of this disease, because we have to look at this as a disease because we have certain allergies to certain foods that get us to react or feel in a certain way that it triggers this reaction. A normal eater doesn't have this. My husband doesn't have these compulsions, obsessions about food at all. It doesn't exist in his world. If I stay off certain foods for 3 years, 4 years, 5 years, if I put that in my mouth, it's going to have exactly the same effect on me because I've got an allergy towards those foods, because they are my trigger foods.
It's
So
a
we're
reaction.
dealing with a reaction, we're dealing with a disease as well. Addiction is also a disease. We have got allergies to certain things that get us going and they manifest in different ways.
Right, and what we're talking about now is the second step again. Because we're talking about controlling what we're eating. If we don't change in here, we ain't in recovery. When you lost 130 pounds, were you in recovery?
No,
No.
I wasn't happy either.
No, you were a miserable skinny chick.
I was a miserable
Right.
skinny chick who
Right.
could actually have fun shopping. But that
Exactly.
wasn't it.
Right, so for this couple of seconds.
wasn't
So I
it.
developed a shopping compulsion.
Next meeting.
There is such a thing.
So it has to do with not having to think about, it has to do with saying, you know what, if I drink or I drug or I eat the Oreos, it's gonna make me sick.
And I feel terrible. Things that we're putting in our body shouldn't leave us feeling horrible at the end of the day. And that's the biggest thing. If we're feeling bad by the things that we're doing, something's wrong in that picture. Something has to shift. And if it's the same thinking that we've been doing, I did the same thinking for 44 years. For 44 years, I thought I could control it. I thought that if I stuck to a certain diet and I recovered from the diet, I could eat in the same way because I'd lost weight. And for me, losing weight was the measure. It wasn't the way I was feeling. If I was feeling miserable and even dieting, I was miserable. I was waiting and counting down those meals. I could eat those little portions in one day. I'd do 1 week in one day. I'd eat all the portions.
So again, we're talking about a mental obsession and a physical craving, that compulsion.
I just want to say something. We've got people who are joining
Hi,
us
Teresa.
online. And Michelle, and hi guys. Just if you want to talk, just chime in because
Because we talk a lot.
We
Yeah.
talk all the time.
Yeah.
So,
Does anybody want to
yeah.
check in?
You need
Can
to
we hear
unmute.
them? Are
Yeah,
they muted?
Wait, you guys need to unmute your mics.
We're
if you
so
want to talk.
technologically advanced, we have no idea what's happening.
You need to unmute your mics if you want to chime in. Hi.
Hi, Teresa.
Hi,
How are you?
I wanted to, this conversation that you're just having here, you just said some really, really powerful words, having to do with whether it's in the mind or the body. And I'm going to do this for myself today, and I would strongly suggest for anyone who's interested in learning more about everything that Felice and Haiti are talking about, go to the AA Big Book and read the doctor's opinion.
Fair enough. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, because that just when you said that, I was like, I got a little nudge in my heart that said, Teresa, you need to read the doctor's opinion.
Right, and the doctor's opinion basically is going to talk about a physical craving and a mental obsession. The stuff that people who aren't addicts don't got. They don't got that.
How we as addicts can keep using and using till it kills us, no matter that we can logically tell ourselves this is not good for us, this is killing us, stop doing it, but we can't stop. So if it's left to us, we haven't been able to stop. So this is what it really is about, is there has to be a shift. There's got to be a spiritual shift, because on our own we could never achieve it.
Right, and that spiritual shift is a pretty intense spiritual shift and takes a whole lot of work that is so worth it in the end. Because when we're living a life where we're pretty much so happy, not all of the time, but a whole lot of the time, and a whole lot happier than we are perhaps right now, just life is better. Like, life is so much more worth living. We get to look at other stuff. We get to be of service to other people, right? We get to help other sick and suffering addicts. Yes, sir.
I recognize my issue, my problem. I may know what my trigger food is.
Can we call it an addiction? Are you comfortable using that word or not?
I don't know
Okay.
that in my mind yet.
Okay,
And I think
perfect.
that's why I'm here.
Thank you
just
for your
to
honesty. Bob.
recognize that.
Yeah.
I've been told, and I know personally what to do. The hard part is getting to that spot, or letting my brain go, aha, this is your addiction, or this is what's causing that. And I'm still trying to find my place there. This is my second meeting, so I'm like, this second meeting opened up a lot more than the first one, and it's just difficult for me to wrap my head around the whole, do I have to be so drastic to go so far one direction to change myself, or in controlling my issue, can I just do a little bit? But then, going back to what you guys were saying, even if you control just a little bit, see, that's what I'm afraid of. That I know I can control it, but how far do I have to go?
Right, and so
for that?
here's the thing. So we all have different bottoms, you guys. And so 9 years ago, whatever, I was basically homeless. I would have been homeless. I was dropped off at a halfway house and was told that nobody in my family was going to speak to me anymore. So that was my bottom. Fortunately, I made it into a treatment center for 6 months, and I started learning how to live. That was after my 17-year-old son had died in an accident, and I did really, really, really poorly. And so I didn't know how to learn. I didn't know how to live as a really sad and suffering human being, and so I replaced that sadness with whatever I could put inside of me to change that. So that was my bottom. A lot of times what happens with drugs or alcohol, and I'm a very good anorexic, by the way. So when I went into treatment, I weigh 130 pounds right now. I probably weighed 90, maybe 40 pounds less than I weigh now. So my bottom was pretty easy for everybody else to see. So everybody's bottom is different. Most of our bottoms, in what's going to happen with food addiction is it's going to be an emotional bottom that we could see, because we could say, hey, I'm fat, or hey, I'm obese, or whatever. Not something that other people take seriously, and not something you guys are going to get kicked out of your house for, I'm sure. Not something that your kids aren't going to not talk to you again, I'm sure. And so when you look at yourself, it's going to be mostly your own struggle. How much do you want to struggle? And when thank you so much for sharing that, you think about you could control it a little bit. Anytime you feel that you need to control something that you're doing, you have a problem with addiction. Other people go out to a bar, you guys, they have one drink, or they have 47 drinks, but they don't think about it. And the next day they don't wake up and have to think about it. And I always use alcohol or drugs because it's easier for us to see. But so when you're having that struggle inside of yourself, and you have to say every single, they even say the obsession of every alcoholic is learn how to drink like a normal person. It don't happen. They say once you're a pickle, you're never going to be a cucumber. It don't happen. And so the struggle that you have, your bottom's gonna be your own struggle. How many people do you think told me that I needed to stop drinking? Really? I wish I could have figured that out the last time I fell down the steps and had a concussion. I wish I could have figured that out all on my own. I knew I was an addict in active addiction. I knew what was happening. I woke up every single day scared and lonely and petrified and resentful and sad. Every single day I woke up like that. And every single day I went through that struggle. And so with you guys, what we're gonna see mostly, what we're not gonna see is your struggle. The only way that we see your struggle is in your weight, because you ain't falling down the steps. And you ain't slurring your words when I call to talk to you. So your inner struggle right now is thinking about, I can learn to control this. People who aren't addicts don't even think about that.
Oh, but wait a minute. I beg to differ.
You can beg all you want.
Okay. Because we do have show signs, difficulty in walking, especially up and down the stairs, difficulty bending, difficulty with our knees, difficulty getting in and out of the car. Am I saying anything that nobody suffers from?
No, and actually when you do in our White Weight for
And it's
Recovery
24/7,
classes, in our White Weight for Recovery
Right.
community, we have
It's
classes
24/7
that you
all
can
the
sign
time.
up for. And those classes, we do a lot of work. We do a lot of step work. And we learn about ourselves, and those are some of the things that we talk about. The thing is that I don't know that your knees are hurting unless you let me know. If I'm effed up on alcohol and I'm falling down the steps, everybody knows about it.
Well,
So it's almost easier to recover as an alcoholic because everybody's pointing a finger at you.
And it shows as something that's desperate, it's dire. You're going to die.
House on fire.
They're going to die. We've got to put them in treatment straight away. Put them in a treatment center. Whereas for me, when someone looked at me, firstly, I was 22 wide in terms of clothes, but I wasn't considered that obese when people looked at me. And
I
also,
considered her that obese.
right, but around my circle, because a lot of my friends were overweight, food had always been a cultural thing in my
course.
family, okay? And not only that,
Like buying their food.
I was scared. I don't want to give up my best friend. I mean, for me, my best friend was, I thought I was a gourmet. I just thought I was a food gourmet. I love food and I've got to give stuff up.
And I love tequila. I was a tequila gourmet. Oh, I was an opiate gourmet. I was a vomiting gourmet. I was all that gourmet.
So it was fine. I still love food and I still love the foods I eat, and I eat delicious food. I just have different choices that I make in terms of the foods that I'm eating. But I thought that when my colon burst because of diverticulitis, that was my bottom. It wasn't my bottom. I still gained 80 pounds afterwards. I was in the ER. I nearly died. My kids nearly lost their mother. I had a colostomy bag for 3 months. This wasn't a joke. You'd think this would be a sign for me?
Duh. No.
I was working in the recovery realm with my client, okay? I should have known better. I knew the stuff I should and shouldn't do, but it didn't shift me. I thought I was in recovery. I wasn't. It took me only 6 months ago that I really started understanding recovery and what it looked like and what it meant. But I started looking at other things. I look at my parents who are struggling because of lifelong issues with weight. My father was one of the first bariatric surgeries in South Africa in the 1970s. The health issues he has now because of the malabsorption of vitamins, because of his heart disease, because of the issues with his lungs, all the different cancers, all the different stuff that he's basically incapacitated without help from other people to get up and move, isn't what I want to leave my kids or the way that I want to be in my 70s. There are very few people in their 70s who are over 300, 400 pounds. It takes a toll on our body. Even at those times when I couldn't keep up with my friends and walk and get out of bed because my back and my hips and my knees were killing me, or get out of breath out of public. So you think that would be a wake-up call? It wasn't. I
And
had to really reach that stage of me one day speaking so badly to my son and sending my husband out of the house and sending everybody else out because I was in active addiction, to actually realize that something really needed to change, because I became mean and I became short and I became all these types of people that I don't like in myself and doesn't feel good in me, so I could use and justify my using because I'm embarrassed to do it in front of other people.
yeah, and again, we're gonna go back to that using, that yelling at your kids, or kicking your husband out of the house or whatever. that using is the end result of our addiction. Addiction starts inside. What we pick up is what we pick up. I need for us to be super clear about that. So does anybody have any question about that?
Yes. We
Yes.
talked about the difference between overeating and food addiction.
Mhm.
So emotional eating is food addiction.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, because we're changing the way that we feel with food.
Right.
As opposed to hugging
We're
our
affected
puppy,
by it.
or calling our friend, or reading a book, or helping another person that needs some help.
Reducing substance.
We are self-medicating. Our
Yes,
drug of choice
exactly.
is food.
It just happens to be food, which nobody looks funny at you when you're at the bakery at Publix. Yes.
Buying baguettes.
You said
It's
before
like-
that other people don't have a problem, they just go out and have 40 drinks
Mm-hmm.
back the next
Yeah.
day. But they do have a problem.
No,
But
they don't. No,
but
they don't.
They don't know they have a problem.
No, so listen, first of all, hear me, okay? There are people that can go out and party and wake up the next day and not think, not obsess about it, not feel guilty about it,
So
get
then they
rid
don't
of their
have a problem.
hangover. Those people don't have a problem. The person that goes out and has 40 drinks and wakes up in the morning with a hangover and throwing up and says, oh my God, I'm never drinking again, and at 1 o'clock is doing some shots of tequila, they have a problem. Yes.
No, I think that what she was saying was that, like, for instance, my husband, he could eat horribly for a day, drop it, the next day, doesn't even think like, oh wow, I ate all this cake or I did that. Whereas
Right.
me, I'm gonna beat myself up about it and then I'm gonna get into that cycle. He'll eat badly, doesn't feel bad about it, and he goes back amongst and
So it's
eats
an
his normal
event,
habits.
it's not an ongoing thing.
Yeah, it's
Right,
just
it's not an addiction.
okay, yeah, I ate badly today,
I
it
like
was good, and that's how he leaves it. I'm not like that. I'll focus on it until I start to feel bad, and then I just keep obsessing
And you
about
do
it
it
and I
again.
do it again because that makes me feel a little bit
The
better.
obsession
you know?
is the difference.
Oh, I love what you
The
just
obsession
said.
and the compulsion.
It's tricky.
Yeah. It is what it is. We don't have to really overthink it, you guys. If you eat crap, wake up the next day, feel like crap, promise yourself you're never going to do it again, think about it all day, and do it again, you're an addict.
In
We don't
in
have to
our case,
overthink
it's
it.
like you're starting a new diet every day or every 2
Yeah,
days
of
or
course.
something.
Yeah, we all start our
Same.
diet on Monday. I'm going to start on Monday. They say every time I picked up on a lie. That lie is, it'll just be a little bit. Oh, I'll just do it this week and I'll start on Monday. Nobody's going to know. What happens if I just do it like this? Or they're all lies that we tell ourselves so that we can get away with what is the end product of our addiction, which is the food. And so until we're working on what's happening in here and learning again that feelings aren't facts, right? That we're allowed to feel. We're also allowed to feel happy. We're allowed to look at the world differently so that we can be happy. We need to relearn how to live, you guys. We need to relearn how to live. Yes.
I thank God I've been doing real well with
Okay.
and the drug of choice that, well, besides sex that I'm not addicted to, but the other thing
Besides sex, which I'm not addicted to. I don't know why that was okay.
yeah, no, but it's okay, but
Anything but. That's what she said.
but
Everything.
also like alcohol really isn't my drug of choice. So food, of course, and pot. I haven't been smoking and I've been pretty, eating pretty well. So last night I went out and I had 2 drinks, and like today I'm okay with it. Like I don't feel I'm gonna have a little teeny little bit of a headache, like tiny, but like it's because I'm tired too.
So-
Yeah. So is that considered like I'm okay with it? Like
Okay, so you're okay with it now? And so I just told this story. We were just talking about a friend of mine who's a psychologist, and she was addicted to Coke. That was her drug of choice. And after 12 years clean, she decided that she could go out with the girls and have a drink. It was a glass of wine. She's not an alcoholic. What's
Yeah.
the big friggin' deal?
nothing to
Right?
it.
Right. And then the next week she had a drink. She had a glass of wine. It was no big deal. And the next week she had a glass of wine and she bought an 8-ball. Which it was so funny because I was like, where do people, like old people, find Coke? But we do, right? Ways and means to find
I'm
more.
sorry,
And so,
what's the 8-ball?
cocaine. A bag of cocaine.
Thank you.
So the thing is that if you're an addict and you're in recovery, you could have a Diet Coke. you could have had a salsa water with lemon in it. Because we know that whenever we're triggering, remember, it's the pleasure centers in our brain, those neurotransmitters that make us feel a certain way, that reacting positively. Once we trigger those, eventually we're going to reach back for our drug of choice. Even if we switched our drug of choice, so we could switch our drug of choice from pot to spaghetti.
To cigarettes, I mean, I have certain things that I'm not an alcoholic, but there's certain sugars and certain alcohols that definitely trigger me. And not only that, then all of a sudden I want to smoke cigarettes, and then I want a joint, and then it becomes like a whole different, and then I want something to eat, and it becomes like a whole cycle for me. If it doesn't have those reactions with me, I can sit down and drink because I'm not an alcoholic. But I've got to be careful what I put in my mouth, because certain tastes and flavors trigger me into certain behaviors because of this
Right, 'cause
twist
I'm
on the
not
mind.
That goes back to
cigarette.
the cheesecake I talked about.
Exactly.
I don't have an issue stopping, but it does trigger something, and I just have to be aware of it.
Yeah, and you're honest about it today.
Yeah.
And so that's awesome. So kudos to you for that.
So
for-
then
for
last
saying
night,
that.
like, I quit cigarettes, I was addicted to the gum, you know, the
Uh-huh.
crack. And the last night after I drank, how come if I'm like fine with it, then I came home and I did eat, you know, that is not, I was hungry, you know, that alcohol like to soak up.
Yeah, because it's sugar, and so the
And I
alcohol
did
causes a
smoke
reactive
cigarette, like
hypoglycemia.
my ex-husband came and I took a cigarette,
Okay.
like,
Okay, and so you did stuff that you normally don't do when you're in recovery. Right, you feel good about it?
not with the cigarettes all
Okay.
of a sudden that
All right,
it comes
and so
over and
I'm just gonna let you know that for true addicts, for
Yeah.
us true addicts, you guys, any addictive substance is gonna be a no-no.
So I can just get this vibe when I was looking at this. All the pleasures in life seem to have disappeared because I couldn't eat, I couldn't drink, I couldn't
Right.
smoke, I couldn't get a high.
That's what you're
So
saying.
all of a sudden I started having these panic attacks of what else is it to do?
What are you gonna do now?
I mean, you can shtup, you can have sex, but I mean, what happens if I become a sex addict?
No,
I mean,
that's okay.
then it becomes. But the interesting thing is, there's different things. I find joy and satisfaction in things that don't give me that instant gratification anymore. Those things for me were instant highs, were instant, here it is, I feel good for 3 seconds, having the cigarette, having whatever it was, it lasted a very short period of time, and then that demoralization lasted so much longer. So for me, the joy that I feel now is a different type of joy. It's enjoying the moment in the movie and connecting with people and feeling great in myself and different things that these substances don't give me, but everyone makes a choice of what's working for them. You are different to you, to you, to you, and everyone's got different triggers and everyone's different. But the true sense of recovery is finding real joy in the moment and in the movie, not because of stuff that we're putting in, because we're feeling bad or don't want to deal with ourselves at that stage.
Right, but I don't want anybody leaving thinking, okay, well, I can make this choice, so I'm just gonna go home and, take 30
You have to
milligrams of
learn how to do it.
oxycodone because I'm not
No.
eating a piece of chocolate cake. Don't work like that for us.
No.
That's what Teresa was saying. So any addictive substance that we take into our system, and you have that, oh my God face, you know what? My life is amazing. I don't drink, I don't drug, I don't binge, I don't purge, I don't do any of those things. And you guys see me like I'm so happy. I have this amazing life. Am I always happy? Of course not. When I'm pissed off, do I talk about it? Yeah. When I'm scared, do I talk about it? Yeah. Sometimes do I sit in my own stuff? Yeah, hopefully for not that long, right? But basically, I live a good, happy, fun life. Yes, ma'am.
My question was answered.
Sure? Robin?
Yeah, so I was thinking about what you were saying about emotions and how as we pick up to medicate ourselves because we're feeling something and we don't want to deal with it. And I remember right when I was kind of starting this whole journey, my grandma died.
Mm-hmm.
And it was right,
Sorry.
seriously, it was like a week after like my first meeting, and it was really, really tough. And the thing that threw me for a loop was I was sitting here, I was like, I can't pick up. What am I gonna do? It was like this existential question. And it was like a panic building up, because I didn't know how to deal with that emotion anymore. And thankfully, I reached out and I was like, what do I do? And people were like, just feel it. It's okay. It's okay to feel sad. It's okay to feel that emotion. It's okay to feel crappy, you know.
And remember, you always.
And it was. It was okay.
Yeah, and you didn't die from it.
I didn't die.
And we're gonna learn that when it comes to the point where we're saying we can't, it's that we choose.
Right.
It's not that we can't, because you can. I could go out and get high right now, you guys. I could go out and eat 46 Oreos and go vomit them right now. I can do whatever I want to do. If I choose to stay in recovery, then if that's the feeling that I'm having, and again, it's just a feeling, if that's the feeling that I'm having, I can reach out to somebody and say, yo, I don't know what's wrong with me right now, but this is the behavior that I feel, this is what I feel like doing, and have somebody help me through that.
Right. And it was really interesting, I think, afterwards, you know, letting myself feel that and then allowing myself to cry and all these things that I normally wouldn't. I would just, you know, stuff my face with fries or whatever, you know, so that I wouldn't feel that way anymore.
Yeah.
You know, and it was actually quite a beautiful moment. Like, you know, I cried and I got hugs and I, you know, somebody else, you know, taught, you know, like, and it brought me closer to other people, and I didn't realize that that's what emotions could do.
Yeah.
And so I think we're afraid
Absolutely.
of those things that make us pick up,
It makes you
not
vulnerable.
realizing it's going to make things better on the other side.
Yeah, and so fear, that's 1,000% correct.
Oh yeah.
And so the majority of whatever we're feeling that keeps up as an active addiction is fear.
I just had like a brainstorm here. Oh my God. You don't feel better after you eat the sesame noodles.
Well, you do for about a second and a
Yeah.
half, and then
I'm
you
like
beat yourself
depressed
up
again.
for the
I'm
next.
like, oh my God. What makes me feel better is writing. I have, I have a book I got.
So that's
that
your solution.
It gives you these words, trigger words, and you have to make up a story. And with these words, and I'm using my recovery for that. Plus, I
Perfect.
have my 12-step workbook
Perfect.
here that I'm
Perfect.
working on.
Perfect.
But you don't feel better after you use.
No, you don't.
It's just for a minute. Like, I mean, I'm at work, I'm talking to all these wacko people trying to save them from canceling their American Express cards. And I'm feeling like, oh my God. And so, all right, I'm eating, I have all my food laid
Right, and
out.
so you've learned that you have a solution
Then
for that.
I don't feel good. I get
Correct.
a stomach ache, you know?
Correct.
And I'm hurting myself. What am I doing?
Right, correct.
What am I doing?
So stop it.
I know.
So reaching out is so essential. Yesterday was a really tough day for me, and I could have chosen to do many, many things, but there were certain things I couldn't control. You know, when people are sick and they're far away, you can only be there in terms of being there, even though you feel, how you feeling is you're feeling, you can either make it affect your world and be mean and short or whatever it is, but it is happening no matter what you do, it's going to happen and have a certain outcome anyway. So in terms of our tools, our online community on Facebook, for me checking in and being able to write what I wrote yesterday and to be able to say, do you know what, I didn't use today, and just be able to put it out there saying it's a challenging day, really served me well. You know, it's great feeling that there are people out there that are supportive and that there's other options than going to the stuff that I've always gone to. So part of what we're doing is relearning and reteaching ourselves not only how to feel, but also tools and things that we can use to get better and healthier, and things we can rely on to gain the strength and reach out and communicate in other ways that validates us, and not only that, makes us feel that we are good enough, strong enough, all those other stories we keep in our mind, and being sensitive and being upset is okay.
And that's why we've made this Why Wait for Recovery community. You guys don't need to wait until Sunday to reach out to somebody, or if you have a question, or if you have anybody in this room who's not happy to help another person in this room, raise your hand. We're all happy to help each other.
No, sorry.
Oh, it's yeah,
I'm very
we're all happy to help. You are happy to
She
help.
thought the question was the other way around. She reversed it in your mind.
Yeah, and you've done a lot of work, and you do help other sick and suffering addicts, don't you?
And she shows up
Yes,
and she helps us
does.
all the time.
I know that.
I mean,
I know that.
the
Makes my
amount of
heart
work,
happy.
yeah, the amount of work she's done for Why Wait for Recovery is
The
amazing.
amount of work she's done for herself is amazing. Amazing. Yeah, and so that's why we have this community, you guys, to reach out. That's what we're here for. The more that you say, I don't need help, the more you keep yourself trapped in that prison that you're living in, and the only thing you're gonna do is what they give you in prison, bread and water, right? And so you'll go
And
for
that's a
that
trigger
bread and water.
food.
No, that's what I'm saying, right? And so we're imprisoned with our bread, right? And we think that, you know what, reach out to other people. People appreciate, yeah, exactly. People appreciate you reaching out. Get yourself out of self once in a while, you guys, when you're having a bad day. Call somebody else and see how they're doing. Go to Publix and open the door for somebody. Be kind to somebody. Get out of your friggin' head. Yes.
So it is 5 minutes towards the end, so we just need to touch on a couple of things. So as food addicts, we do need tools. Why, as addicts, we need tools.
Yes, as addicts.
So
we need
the one
tools.
tool we just discussed was our Facebook page, which we did change for a reason. It does have what is the name of the page?
Downsizing weight loss.
So we put in the words weight loss, not because we're focusing on losing weight, but because when people are Googling and searching, they're looking to lose weight. That's what brought most of us in through the doors, is looking good. It's not our focus, but we want to be a resource for others and for others to find us, because our goal is we really want to reach 1 million people and stop the pain and suffering.
So what's the Facebook page now?
Downsizing weight loss. We still have Why Wait for Recovery. We're always going to have that. The closed group is Downsizing Weight Loss.
So we connect on Facebook. I also am on MyFitnessPal. I'm a terrible eater. I either skip meals and then eat at 11 o'clock at night.
She was a terrible eater.
I was a terrible eater. So one of my tools of choice is MyFitnessPal. So I log what I'm eating. I use it all the time. I make sure I'm getting my protein, because if I'm not getting in enough protein, I find I'm starving or I'm craving stuff. So I focus on protein goals, and I set my sugar limits and all different things, because foods contain all that. We all know this stuff. Whatever's working for you, have a food plan. Stay off your trigger foods. Know what they are. Everyone is different. We don't give food plans. We also find that journaling helps us. Journaling, when talking is one thing, connecting the hand and the heart and the head is a total experience. When you either journaling, posting in Facebook, somehow where we're getting those feelings out, helps us not only see them, hear them, but also you'd be amazed what you write. Be incredibly creative, and also you never know who you're touching that's reading your words. You know, we inspire others by being ourselves. We also come to meetings. Meetings are not only a way to keep us in recovery, but it also inspires us to be in recovery.
It also lets us be seen, and it lets us all check in with each other. And so if you come in and I can see on your face that you're having a bad day, you know, we're going to make sure that we reach out to you a little bit more. And so utilize the tools that we got and come together as a community.
So we connect at meetings. Meetings are 9 a.m. on a Sunday, either face-to-face or online. We have people connecting from around the world online. Wednesday nights at 9 p.m. Doors are always open. You can always come in. Everyone's welcome. Bring a friend. I got brought into recovery by a friend. The other thing is, what's really essential besides reading materials is there's loads of stuff on the web, but also being of service. Being of service is essential for us to get out of our heads, to be able to connect with others, because our movies are very small. Our focus is all about us and why we're feeling so bad, rather than stepping out and being of service and feeling really good. And that other shift comes with gratitude. There's a 90-day gratitude challenge, so please take us up on it. You can either WhatsApp us, you can put it on Facebook, send it to your friends. Don't you feel good when you read other people's gratitude besides posting your own?
And you know, I'm going to tell you guys something. I'm going to tell you guys something. We talk about a 90-day challenge, right? To put 3 things that we're grateful for and the strength for the day. We're talking about you guys taking 10 seconds from your life to do something toward your recovery. How many people fight that? Most of you fight it one night or another, right? Why? Why would you not take that simple, teeny tiny suggestion to do something to help to change the way that you're looking at things today and change the way that you're looking? Such a teeny tiny thing. We're not asking you to go out and spend $80,000. Teeny, 10 seconds, put what you're grateful for, your strengths for the day, start stepping into your recovery, you guys.
Got less than a minute.
We got less than a minute, so I'm going to read the promises really fast. This is the promises from the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. If we are painstaking about this phase of our development, we will be amazed before we are halfway through. We're going to know a new freedom and a new happiness. We will not regret the past nor wish to shut the door in it. We will comprehend the word serenity, and we will know peace. No matter how far down the scale we have gone, we will see how our experience can benefit others. Feeling of uselessness and self-pity will disappear. We will lose interest in selfish things and gain interest in our fellows. Self-seeking will slip away. Our whole attitude and outlook upon life will change. Fear of people and of economic insecurity will leave us. We will intuitively know how to handle situations that used to baffle us. We will suddenly realize that the universe does for us what we couldn't do for ourselves. Are these extravagant promises? I don't think so. They're being fulfilled among us. Sometimes quickly, sometimes slowly. They will always materialize if we work for them. I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery. I'm blessed and grateful that all you guys are here. My name is Felice.
And I'm blessed and grateful to be in recovery, and I'm blessed and grateful. All of you too. Have a beautiful week.
Peace
And
out.
peace
Happy
out,
Sunday,
everybody.
you guys.